Second. All right. Welcome back or welcome to the Next Level podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and I'm super excited to have back on the podcast one of the few who will be a multi-time guest is my dear friend Tristin Vaccaro. So if you don't know Tristin, she's just my one of my favorite people when it comes to marketing, communication, like how to find the right place to put yourself or your brand in the security industry in innovative and thoughtful ways. For someone who has the kind of like youthful exuberance that she does, she brings a veteran's mindset to the industry and also taking just like unique perspectives from outside the industry and bringing them in. And there's a small group, and I post this on LinkedIn, rather often. There's like a small group of marketing experts that I pay attention to. It's Lee, it's Hillary, it's Aaron, it's you, and those are and that like and that might be the list, right? Uh, so welcome back. I appreciate you taking the time, and let's get caught up. It's been kind of the backstory on this is that you posted on LinkedIn that
Mhm,
it's been almost 3 years since you had you on, and kind of so much
mhm.
has transpired since then. And so then that got me like, man, like I couldn't even believe that I'd been doing the podcast for that long, and had to go back and kind of look at the dates and have a smile about that. But then had to get you back on to get caught up. What's changed both in your professional world, in the industry, and kind of start walking through some of the things that our listeners should be paying attention to when it comes to marketing in 2026.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. Likewise, you named all of my favorite people earlier. There's great people in the industry doing amazing things, and you listed like the top five there. So, yeah, things have changed quite a lot with me professionally. So, I believe when we last spoke, I was at LRG Marketing. I was their head of content, so working with all of their clients to write press releases, blogs, all of that good stuff. And I believe shortly after that, I left to start freelancing. I say start because I was freelancing before that job, but go back to freelance content writing, specifically working in the security industry. And that's been great. Been doing that now 2.5 years. Loved every minute of it. So I have lots of clients that I write content for. I'd say 90% of them are in the security industry doing ebooks, blogs. It's also evolved into executive branding and things like that. So it's been really great. And yeah, I couldn't be happier professionally.
Before we dive into kind of the themes and the tactics, let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey because there's uh it seems more, and it's not just the security industry, but we'll focus on that, is that people are maybe getting a little frustrated with the structure of a corporate job. They're either starting side gigs or just making the jump and going out on their own and betting on themselves. You know, I know, kind of talking to you and knowing you personally, it wasn't something that you took lightly, but you had done it before, and so you had some reps and like, but like, what does that feel like to just be able to, what are the pros and cons about you being a solopreneur and doing it all on yourself?
Totally. I'm not gonna lie, it was terrifying the first time I did it, and it was almost more terrifying the second time I did it. I agonized over that for a long time. The role that I had at LRG in content, I learned so much, and I would not be able to do what I do today without that experience. And it was a great experience. But to your point, I really wanted to have that work-life balance back and to make my own schedule. And this is what I can say yes to, and this is what I can say no to. And being able to post my unfiltered thoughts on LinkedIn, like as crazy as that sounds, that was a big part of it. I'm finding, and a lot of people have told me this personally, it's hard to sometimes be authentic when you work in a big corporation. And I think that was part of it for me. I just wanted to be myself on social media and who I was presenting at trade shows and everything like that, the things that I believed in. So that was
Hmm.
really important to me. And I think that's a benefit is that's a privilege is
Yeah.
the freedom to show up authentically and say what's on your mind and not fear, oh my gosh, am I going to get fired for this? Or is my boss not going to like that? I said this and I'm really passionate about DE&I and, in today's age, unfortunately, that can be controversial.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that was a big plus for me was taking that leap, knowing that I could say and do and really support the things that I believed in. So that was a big pro. And then again, that work-life balance of, I work when I want to. I don't. If I want to go out on my boat in the middle of the day and take a nice little break, I can do that. And if I want to work till 9 o'clock at night, like that works for me. So definitely two pros. Cons, it's terrifying. Again, um, I think from a financial standpoint, I'm really lucky. I have a partner who is super supportive. And again, that's a privilege that I acknowledge
Mm.
is, it's not easy to wonder where your next paycheck's going to come from and how much is that paycheck going to be. And there's so much irregularity to that paycheck. And, you're really out there fighting for sales and you have to be all those things. You have to be sales, you have to be marketing, you have to be the bookkeeper. And that's a lot to take on. There's that financial risk, insurance, that's a whole nother thing, like really weighed on me. And again, I'm in a really lucky position that I have somebody to support me in those ways, but those are kind of some of those things that I worked through when I made that decision.
No, thanks for sharing it. And it's, as someone who does kind of my consultative work on the side, it it is interesting all that you learn about being a solopreneur. And you say insurance. One of the things that I was filling out, one of my clients is they're outside of industry. A lot of my work is not in security, to kind of keep it bifurcated. I still work
Mm-hmm.
with some security professionals on leadership and performance development, but my corporate clients are not. And this was a large publicly traded company, and I'm filling out the risk questionnaire for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions is, do you have business insurance? If so,
Yes.
list your policy number. And I'm like, I don't, but I'm gonna get it right. So I log on to,
A hundred
my
percent.
yeah, I logged on to my insurance company's website, click through, oh, business insurance. What do I need coverage? That sounds good. Click boom. I mean, I don't know if they looked at the date of that the policy generated because it was the same day submission, but I'm like, man, I should have had this all along. What if and I never thought about, once you
Yeah.
start getting into a certain level of professional operation,
Mm-hmm.
like, then I'm like, oh man, what if I gave somebody advice and they did something wrong, and that's what. And so, like, then I started thinking about how I need to write my terms and conditions around, that my guidance isn't direct. Like, there's protections that I had to place for myself and what
Mm-hmm.
I do. You learn those things, hopefully before the mistakes happen, but you definitely learn them by mistakes. I know when I worked with Lee and Hillary at Group 337, there's things like early on when we would have agreements with clients, and we'd realize, like, man, we're charging way too low and we're giving
Mm-hmm.
them way too much, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
tax on our time. And, like, you learn that stuff as you go.
100%.
Um, and create. I'm working. I'm in a mastermind um, for some folks here in Minnesota who do coaching and entrepreneurial business. And one young lady that is a peer in that group, she's like, yeah, my clients are texting me and emailing me all the time. I'm like, you charge them for that. It's like, you
Yeah.
you have to have a tier that allows, one meeting once a month, have a tier that does that. And then at your highest tier, say that they can, text you and email you and you respond within 24 hours or something like that. She's like, oh, I was like, you got to protect your time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't respond, then they'll know that but if you, like, respond
Open that
every single
door.
time, right, then they're
Yeah,
always going
you
to walk
can't shut
in.
that door.
So it's super interesting. But and yeah, I mean, that's you talk about the work-life balance part. Like, that's the part that I think some entrepreneurs get wrong, is that they work more,
Mm-hmm.
and then they think, just because they're like, they don't get that work-life balance, meaning, but they work when they want, but they work all the time,
Mm-hmm.
versus, like, realizing how to. The hardest thing that I find is, like, building a schedule
Mm-hmm.
that I can stick to, that doesn't cascade into my personal life.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, there's never been an easier time to do it because of the tools and the systems and the things that
Mm-hmm.
are in place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everybody. And I think there's something
Agree.
very important that you mentioned about having real experience. I get reached out to on LinkedIn or DM'd on Instagram by these children who are like, "Hey, you want me to help you 10x your business?" I was like,
Yeah.
what have you ever done? You're 22 years old. Right now, are
Yeah.
there some young people who have figured it out and who have done great things? I'm sure. But there's also, as you mentioned, having worked in corporations and gotten that experience and then being able to apply that to others to show like this is how the big the big corporations do it, or this is how the large marketing firms do it. I can do it for you, at like streamlined at a better cost, competitively, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera. Like those, I think that is the model that will be sustainable, is one that's grounded in actual foundational um, experience versus someone who is using a combination of whatever they're seeing on social media and ChatGPT to write content. But
Mm-hmm.
they're
And I really feel like that's what sets me apart is when I talk to like a new potential client, you know, they're never, they're not always like, okay, well, why you? But I think that's a big part of what I try to convey is, having so many different clients across video, access, software. I mean, anything in the security industry, I've probably touched on it,
yeah,
so I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of general knowledge about a lot of things. I can't really, I don't really dive deep. I research obviously when I'm writing content, but I think that is what makes me really unique is I know a lot about everything. Um, so it's easy for me to pull from, oh yeah, I saw a video client do this, that didn't work, don't go down that road,
yeah,
or jumping over to access. Like that has helped me so much. And I needed that 2.5 years of experience working in an agency to figure all of that out and have that knowledge that I think brings the value that I deliver to security clients today.
yeah, 100%. Well, in that vein, let's talk about what you're doing with your clients here in 2026. Like, what are the things that are working, that are not working? And then I want to specifically talk about executive branding and individual branding. So put that aside, because I know you brought that up earlier, and it's something that you and I have had multiple conversations about. But let's kind of general macro level, like what are the themes, what are the things that you're seeing that are moving the needle for companies, or those that are definitely not working?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because again, we got on this topic because I had listened to the podcast that we did previously and you were like, "Oh my God, I hate print media." And I was like, "No, like print media has its place and blah blah blah." Okay, no, you're right. Like print media is dead. Like I totally concede on that one. Like that is not a hill I'm willing to die on anymore. So that's one that I can confidently say has gone by the wayside. Honestly, though, a lot of legacy things like that, I do feel like are still valuable. Email drip campaigns, like everyone hates a sales email. Like they do, there is value in them. You're constantly being top of mind for people. So even if they're not, you know, directly clicking the link, buying something, whatever, that's still brand recognition. You're still there. And again, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do emails, but I still think that there's value in that. Um, I know we're going to talk about executive branding, but even being on LinkedIn and having a point of view and digesting other people's point of view is really important. I think knowing what's happening in the industry and being an educated and active participant is one of the best things that you can do marketing slash career wise. Um, Honestly, that's kind of it. I feel like people want to talk about video, and AI was not where it is today when we had this conversation 3 years ago. Like, I was not fearful for my job. Like, back then I was like, oh yeah, AI. And even today, I'm still not that fearful, to be
Yeah,
honest with you, because AI can't, I'm not saying it won't ever, but can't currently create a brand voice or a
right.
personal voice. And I think that's so huge. And if you want AI slop, that's on you, but there is a right way and a wrong way to use AI. I'm also not anti, you know,
Right.
chat GPT. Like that's a tool for me. I use it. Like I'm okay saying
Mhm.
that, but just letting it run amok and having that being your marketing strategy is set up for failure.
It's interesting you brought up email because I um there's a company that I work with who has completely overhauled their sales and marketing. And they sent out more emails in the last 2 months than they had in the last 2 years. And it's too soon to draw any significant conclusions from that. But I will say is that they're getting way more um it, current customers being like, oh, by the way, I need like so the top of mind thing I think is really matters.
Mm-hmm.
I get emails from my from Mobile Pro technology partners, Axis, Genetech, et cetera, et cetera. And and they just keep top of mind with me, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, we have this new thing coming out. Hey, reminder, we're this product is end of lifing. These are and so these aren't like they're not like promotional. They're just like
Mm-hmm.
slight nudges to say like, hey, we're
Exactly.
here, we have some stuff, reach out, but and we'll get to ISC West in a minute. We're taping this in mid-February. We have ISC West coming in about 5 weeks. Um, this is the time that you want to be on people's minds. So when they go to that show, they're coming to see you. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I think like email marketing is something that people take for granted, and it's not just sending out an email
Mm-hmm.
once a week with some stuff on it. There's um, in in the it's not the what is it called now? The FISEC community. Well, after Lee's
Mm-hmm.
rebranded, Lee and
Mm-hmm.
Hill rebranded, but that thing that the
Yeah.
Lee and Hillary's community.
Yeah.
He had put, and I won't name the company, but he had put a marketing campaign from an access control company into
I
that.
saw that.
That was like probably AI garbage. Like it was a product announcement, and it
Yeah.
was just really poorly done. And
Yeah.
then he got another one from a non-industry. Like another other company outside of the industry that was like the theme and the thought was the same, but the
Mm-hmm.
execution was like miles
Yeah.
apart. And so you're like, we kind of had this A/B testing right in front of us of like,
Yeah.
and it had like the AI marketing tool, like watermark on the bottom of it, which again, in and of itself isn't bad.
Yeah.
But then when you get the whole
But it
thing,
is,
yeah.
especially when you're in the security industry.
Right.
And this is part of my pitch too. Like, trust is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I think that having that AI tone, that if people get a whiff of that, that to
Yeah.
me is like, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
trust
Yeah.
your brand. I don't trust you,
There,
like if you can't take 5 minutes to put together, a thoughtful email, because I
right.
think email marketing is an easy thing you can do
Yeah.
as a marketing team, but it can easily go wrong. It's not something you can just push out with no strategy and no thought behind it.
Yeah.
But once you get it going, there's value in that.
Well, and and it can be as easy as, all right, I'm going to send an email twice a week or 3 times a week. My Monday email is going to be this. My Wednesday email is going to be this. And my Friday email is going to be this. And they're just themes. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so then you have a structure, or if that's too much, content you want to do, then I do it every week. And week one is this, and two and three. And
Mm-hmm.
like when I was at Hivewatch, Jenna, another great marketing mind, Jenna Hardy, like we had a structure, her and Sarah, on like we're gonna highlight a partner on the second week of the month, and we're gonna do a product on the third week of the month. We're gonna do, I know it's one of the things you do is help people with their content calendars,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something that you can just build and repurposing it. That like the newsletter
Yep.
can be repurposed into the email campaign, which then can be repurposed into your social media posts, so that
A
you're
hundred
taking
percent.
one piece of content and utilizing it in all your
Yep.
different domains, so that it doesn't feel. I mean, that's how companies with one fractional marketing person like yourself, or a single marketing person like how Hivewatch was for so many years with Jenna, and even when she was a freelance before that, when she first started, help them get their voice out, as you did with me, when you supported me on some of the stuff that I was doing at 337. It was just like, you know that's how you get outsized returns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on having like limited resources. You don't have to be like, I think Verkada does a great job with their marketing. They have a fucking army of
Mm-hmm.
product marketing and social media marketing and so like they have marketing for their marketing and so,
Mm-hmm.
but so when you have that much, you expect that much.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to have that to get meaningful returns
Yeah.
out of your marketing.
100%. And I have a client right now, they have their own marketing department, and that marketing department's busy with other things, planning events. That's something I don't do. Like, all of these other things that marketing teams do. And I'm like, hey, well, I can come in and help out. And one of the things that I'm doing for them is, like you said, we're starting this series for their emails where it's like a story from the field of
Mhm.
what, some of their salespeople are seeing in a use case or a case study. And we're putting that into like an email series. And then once that email goes out, we're going to put it on the website as a blog. That helps SEO. Then we're going to take that and we're going to post it to social media. That's 2 or 3 posts. And so that one interview and one email, just exponentially, like you said, helps marketing in ways that, that's not that big. That was only like, a couple hours of work for,
Yeah.
I think, what are pretty substantial returns.
Absolutely. Well, let's shift gears to the concept of executive branding. And this is something that you and I have talked about multiple times on the previous podcast to some extent about the importance of a personal brand. And my hypothesis is that personal brands matter more than company brands, especially
100%.
I've had this conversation with Lee as well. I've talked to it about my executives. I mean, it was one of the things that I mentioned about, so Colin Dupree recently joined Mobile Pro, well-known longtime veteran in the security industry. And one of the things when he was, kind of going through the process, he's on the cover of the SJA magazine. And I
Hmm.
just put that in front of my coworkers and be like, this is the guy we're talking to, right? So like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff speaks for itself.
absolutely.
And like are like name your company, outside of and even I know I'll use the example of like HID. I mean, they've turned Phil Coppola into like the face of them, less
Hmm.
so than the brand. There's certain companies
Hmm.
who have created this almost like ambassador.
Hmm.
Axis does it really well with some of their folks who really become the face of the organization. And these are
Hmm.
huge brands with big names, that do a lot. And yet they're still like, hey, people like people more than people like
Hmm.
brands.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about your thoughts on the importance of having the people behind the brand stepping in front of the brand and carrying that brand with more of a personal manner.
Yeah, this is something that we touched on in the last podcast that I think is more important today now than ever, but hasn't seen a lot of movement in how we create those people and empower them and use them to their fullest abilities. You gave great examples. I would argue that they were around those 3 years ago too, and they were doing a great job. But at this point, I expected to see more people get on that bandwagon, both organizations and individuals start to kind of figure that out. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like it's not to where it needs
No,
to be
it
yet,
isn't. Well,
which
and
is
I think
crazy.
we've seen some folks. Um, we have a mutual friend who I won't name him, but he has a immense personal following and his brand, and he's no longer with that company. Um, tried to stifle like basically you're like he has more followings on social media than your company does, and he is a very likable guy, and he could do wonders for you. People will tune in to hear what he has to say, and you're killing that because who knows, right? So I think there's an ego and a fear of it's kind of like what you said before about the freedom that you desire.
Hmm.
What's hard is that the bigger the company gets, the more the if it's publicly traded, there's stakeholders, there's investors. It's like, you really have to, one of the things that's interesting, I didn't think about it till just now, Tristan, is are they willing to give up some of their personal freedom to be the brand representative? Because like
Hmm.
I follow Phil on all media platforms, and I never see him post anything HIG related as I'm thinking of it, right? I mean, he does some stuff with his kids stuff, but like it's all very like on brand.
Yeah.
And so there is that you have to be willing, I think, to potentially do that, or like you know, kind of keep you know, two personas, hopefully. And I think again, like I'm using Phil as kind of the ultimate example. Like he is the guy that, and like that is in complete alignment with the person he is.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so like I think that's unique that you find somebody who's like, I live and I breathe this and this is what I want to do and all I want to do. Like one of friend of the program, Bear Halverson, like he just moved to a rather large um company in the industry, and I'm sitting there, he is very open about his beliefs and certain things, and I'm like, all right, Bear, like let's see how this how this thing's gonna play out,
Yeah.
because like he refuses to tamper down who he is, but he has a brand following, personal brand following that I think is useful and very positive to his employer if
Yeah.
they're open to it, right? And there's like, each thing can go too far in either direction, but I think one of my key assessment points of joining the company that I'm a part of now was, can I be myself? Are we in some level at least like ideologically aligned as far as like me being me? Not like that. I'm not talking about at the ballot box. I'm not talking about personal
Hmm.
political beliefs. I'm just saying, like, do we fundamentally align on just like human value
Hmm.
and some of those like this fundamental things that we can connect with. Um, it's funny, one of the things that I think is one of the most important personal brand uh attributes is general likability.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's this je ne sais quoi that you can't, there's like people in the industry just like, I like them.
Hmm.
And like, if I can like you, then I want to work with you. And
Hmm.
ultimately, I probably want to buy from you. But if I
Yeah.
don't like you, then there may be instant resistance to your brand,
Hmm.
which is an interesting concept of like, if the person who is it's like if your CEO is an asshole, like, you know, there's like extreme example is Elon Musk, right? Like
Hmm.
people love him, people hate him.
Hmm.
There's people who refuse to buy Tesla or Starlink because of him. And
Hmm.
so there is and that's an extreme example, but an example nonetheless. And I'm sure there's people who feel certain ways about leaders or even like executives at security companies that it impacts their willingness to partner with that company, to represent the brand as a reseller or to buy from them.
Yeah. I think that it's a tight rope to walk, and I think
Mhm.
there are trade-offs on both sides. I think that the organization has to give up a little bit of that control. They have to put trust in this brand ambassador that they're going to act in a way that is in accordance with their values and their mindset and things like that. So I definitely think there has to be that good fit first.
Yeah.
You can't force people to take on that role
Yeah.
of a brand ambassador. There has to be a want to do it, and the values have to align first and foremost. Um, I am really passionate about it because, again, I think it's one of those things that's easy to do if you do it in the right way. And I think it starts with really championing those people who show that interest. Those should be the people you're sending out into trade shows and, are publishing articles, being that point person to, like you said, where you see them, you associate them with that company. And if you're doing it right, it's going to be in a positive light, but there are risks and trade-offs. I think if you're going to be a personal ambassador, you have to give up some of that authenticity, unfortunately.
Hmm.
It can't be all your views and your thoughts unfiltered all the time. Um, I think even me, that's why a big reason why I left and wanted to do my own thing. But, every industry, every organization, every association, all of it, it is political, and you're kind of having to find where your own personal line is and what you're willing to say or do to the benefit or to the detriment of your career, depending on how passionately you believe in it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think kind of the net here, before we shift gears one more time, is like there are really simple, well, a few things. One, like if every executive at a company is gonna have a brand,
Hmm.
meaning like if you don't have one, then your brand is absence. I don't know anything about them. They're an anomaly. Like, if you, if you, eh, but you can craft that. Like one of my
Hmm.
favorite follows on social media is Rob Leidick. So long, he was um, at Wavelengths for a long time, and they
Hmm.
just had some restructuring, and I'm sure he's still involved like anecdotally, but moved out of his role as president. But he, if you want somebody who lives to their like personal beliefs more than any almost anybody
Yeah.
I know, both and there is no corporate Rob and personal Rob. There's Rob the husband, the father, the world traveler, the bicyclist. Like it's
Yeah.
all one character,
Yeah.
and it's all the same. And like though he's someone who I should probably send him a text message after this to say I'm thinking about him. He's someone I admire greatly because he just lives his beliefs in a authentic and unabashed way. And what's great about it is that there is no, you know, it hurts no one, right? And like, I'm sure there's people who he rubs the wrong way. I'm sure there's people who he doesn't like. Like no one is loved by 1,000% of the people. Um, but he does it in an authentic way and kind of leads with positivity like as his front kind of North Star. And I think like when the leaders in the industry operate like that, it makes you want to do business with them, right? It always drew me in of like that's a person I'd work with. That's a company I'd buy from. That's someone that I could like and in good conscience have a business transaction with, and then have a conversation with afterwards. And so, that matters. And to put someone and to take the people who want to be there and put them out in front of you to have likable people associated with your brand. It's why brand ambassadorships for any type of clothing brand and all that's why they have them is
Yeah.
because I want you to associate when you think about how you like person X. I then want you to think about, oh, and they like this beverage or this thing or this that. And then like so like it's a tried and true marketing approach that that's why you had you know movie stars smoking cigarettes in the 50s, right? Like go
Yeah.
watch Mad Men. Like all that shit was
Yeah.
like it's not new. But it works and it's
So,
underutilized.
yeah, before we shift gears, I do want to say, and I adore Rob, but kind of the flip side of that is, Rob's in a really great position and has built a career where he's able to be that
Mm,
authentic,
that's
and I
fair. That's
think that
fair.
matters a lot. He was CEO or president,
Hmm.
I believe, and that's a way easier position to be in, to be that authentic as opposed to somebody who's a junior salesperson
Right.
being like
Yes.
that, you
That's a
know?
fair distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll give a quick example. I was talking to somebody and I was like, she was like, "Hey," or I said, "I really hope to see you at ISC West. Are you going?" And she was like, "I don't know. My company kind of, they haven't decided who they're going to send yet, but I really want to go." And she's out there and she's on LinkedIn and she's trying to be a part of these organizations. And I'm just like, "Oh, well, something that I did is I actually took PTO to attend ISC West, which is crazy for a lot of people, but I knew that it would really help my career, and it worked for me." And she was like, "Yeah, I think our company would have a huge issue if I did that.
I've heard that too, and I again I won't I don't know if it's the same person, but because this is a couple years ago, and it was one of the biggest companies in the industry, one that I admire, and she told me flat out, I'll get fired if I go there, even if it's on my own dime.
Which is
It's
crazy to
insane.
me.
It's insane.
Why are you
Like,
not empowering the people who want to be there and want to
yeah,
learn? I think a lot of it is fear. I think,
yeah,
there's fear of them seeing a company they like better and like
yes,
going to work for them. I think there's fear of, again, you're not controlling the brand. I don't know what it is, but it's wild to me.
yeah.
So I just want to
It
say, like, there's a way to that's just such a simple thing you can do
yeah.
is if somebody's showing the interest and wants to be there, why wouldn't you want them to be there
Especially if they're
too?
willing to pay for it
A
themselves. I could see
hundred
if you being
percent.
like we have a budget, not everybody's going to be able to
Yeah.
go. Like, but I also would, I guarantee you, there's a couple sales guys who are like, I fucking hate this. I don't want to go. I'm here every year. Like, I hate Vegas. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of booth setup. And there's some young marketing intern who's like, fuck, I'll go. Like, that sounds
Mm-hmm.
awesome, right? And so, yeah, I mean it's one of those things, and I've heard this early in my career where I had a manager who invested a lot in training for me and project management and time management and all these fundamental things that I had no idea what I was doing when I was, 22 years old. And her boss used to be like, "Why are you doing this?" And she said, "Well, I was always told, the kind of the euphemism of, what if you invest all this time in them and they leave?" And she would say, well, what if I don't and they stay? Right. So like
Yeah.
and meaning like are you willing to have like mediocre, underperforming, unknowledgeable folks stay with you? Or do you show like I tell this to everybody who ever works for me. I support you 1,000% of whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
And majority of you, your ultimate goal is not working for me or this company. And that's okay,
Yeah.
because and I will not hold you back, because if I can get, there's this wonderful book called Multipliers by Liz Wiseman, and part of it is just getting, there's a well-established Gallup poll around active disengagement from the workplace and how
Yeah.
much that like that most people are at a minimum disengaged and mostly are actively disengaged, meaning you're getting
Mm-hmm.
somewhere between 20 to 40% of actual output from your employees. So even if you want to just talk about dollars and cents, if you help people fulfill what they feel is valuable to them and that they feel engaged, you can get outside returns on your investment in them. And even if it's just for 2 or 3 years, you're getting 100% of their output. You're getting more from them than you can ever get from anybody else. And then if they go, that's fine. You have the next group coming in that you can do the same for. And the best thing that happens is when that person leaves, they say great things about you.
Yep. A
Our
hundred
industry is
percent.
very small, and people know the places and the people not to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you don't see good people going back to places that are not good to work at. And they always have to bring in new people from outside the industry
And that
or
costs
churn
so
through.
much
It
money. I
does.
don't
It
know what
does.
the statistic, but the cost of onboarding a new employee versus keeping one you have is insane. And the fact that
Super
you would want to
expensive.
kill the passion before it even has a chance to get started is,
Yeah. It's
I
I
don't
don't
know.
understand it. I
Yeah.
understand it. So um last thing here, we've dabbled around the idea of ISC West a little bit. It came up in some conversations in the FISEC community today, and I want to. And you usually make a LinkedIn post about this, and so but we'll do it live here. Like, for what are your thoughts on both, like the best way, and let's frame this for like younger professionals, new attendees. It's your first ISC, or you haven't been there. Maybe you've just been a part of the booth and now you get to explore on your own, whatever the case is. Um, what's the preparation that you think like folks should do? Like, how do you prepare for it? What's the plan when you're there? What are the must-go-to events or participations, or like how would you say, kind of like run down your top 10 ways to both prepare and do ISC West?
Yeah, I think preparation, you have to go in with the game plan. There are so many events, there are so many sessions, there's so many booths. There is absolutely no way to see it and do it all in 3 days.
Mm.
So I think you have to go in with a general plan. But that being said, you also have to leave room for moments that you don't quite expect. So if you're at a networking event and it's really going great and you feel like you're meeting the right people, then you're like, oh, but I was supposed to go to, this other networking event that's on my schedule. Okay, that's okay. Just if you feel like you're getting value where you are, then stay where you are. You don't have to stick to a strict schedule, but having a general outline of the things that you absolutely have to see and don't want to miss. And then, not only leaving room for flexibility, but leaving room to breathe. It's a lot. I will start with a spa day at the Venetian the Monday before the show every time because I
Nice.
just need a minute to like breathe and prepare for what's to come because it is a lot. And I think
Mm.
every first time attendee is like, it's like drinking through a fire hose. Like it's all coming at you and it's all good stuff. And
Yeah.
you'll learn so many incredible things and meet so many incredible people. And you'll be exhausted at the end of it. But the best thing is to have a plan of the events that you can't miss. Some of those for me, if you're a young professional, definitely the Rise dinner. I believe it's going to support a veterans association this year, which is super cool. Um, if you don't know about Rise, young professional community within the security industry, super awesome group of people. Um, Last year was the first year they had a dinner that wasn't a
Mm.
happy hour, but I thought the dinner was great because there was time to mingle and talk to people and move around. Then you sit down, have a nice dinner. I think it's $30, which you're not going to find dinner for $30 in Las Vegas anyway. So you might as well go meet new people, hear about all the programs that they have because
Mhm.
they're amazing mentorship programs. Um, Accelerize, the conference that they have, you'll hear all about that there, but that's a great one. Um, Obviously, have to plug the Mission 500 5K 2K. I'm super involved with Mission 500. It's a charity within the security industry that focuses on giving back to children and families in need. So every year we have the 5K 2K. This year it's Thursday morning, March 26th, I believe. So we've got buses, we take people to the park. If you want to run, that's awesome. If you want to walk a 2K, that's totally cool too. Last year we had about 500 people out there, and it's really cool because during the show, everyone's there for their own interests and pushing their own product and, you know, there's competitors and things like that, but out there preparing to run after the run, it's so many people from the industry just talking and hanging out and supporting one another for a good cause. So that's
Can we
definitely on
talk
my
a
list.
can we talk a little bit more about Mission 500? Like, because I was, um, it's always been ever present at all the events, but I didn't really know a lot about it. And last year was the first time I did the run, and I sat next to a guy on the bus who was like, "Yeah, I've been doing this for, I think this is year 15 or so," and like it started. We were in that parking lot over, like it was such an, and I knew nothing of like the history of both the event, that it was just like kind of ad hoc in the beginning and what it's grown into. So just let's take a moment to just recognize Mission 500 and what it does, and this, what it serves,
Yeah.
and explain that a little bit more broadly.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I've been involved with them a little bit over a year now, so this will be my second time helping to organize the 5K 2K. But it does go back, I want to say maybe 12, 13, 14, 15 years now. There's people who have run the race every single year since it started, and we have coins made for them because that's just such a unique accomplishment. But we do so the funds that we raise through registrations, through sponsorships, all of that goes to giving back to kids in need. I kind of like to say we're like a charity for other charities.
Mm.
So whether that's, I know last year, year before, we used funds to build a playset for a kid with cancer who's immunocompromised, kids who are experiencing homelessness, things
Mm.
like that. Another really exciting thing that we're doing at ISC West that we do every year is our care pack build, which historically people stop by the booth. We have all of these hygiene essential items. You pack them in the bags, tie it up, and then at the end of the show, we bring it to a local donation partner that's been Nevada Health Centers. But they pass it out to, again, families, people in need who, are experiencing homelessness. But this year, we're actually going to switch it up and do Jars of Hope. So this year, it's going to be toys, prizes, stuffed animals, snacks, things like that for kids who are staying at the Ronald McDonald House in Las Vegas so that, while they're going through treatment, their siblings going through treatment, they have some fun things to do to distract them. And it's just a really cool way, again, to see the whole industry get involved in something like that and participate. We have HID has been a great sponsor for the past couple of years, kind of enabling us to do that. But again, it's just really cool to see you have salespeople, you have end users, integrators, all of these people, you know, who say, this is so cool and I can't believe this was here. And, this made my day and made me feel good. All of that is incredible to watch. And we do other events throughout the year, like golf outings and things like that. But it is really just one of my favorite events. And it's kind of nice to get some fresh air after being
Yeah.
being
Yeah,
out.
it's a beautiful park
Yeah.
that the run happens at, and yeah, such a fantastic event. So I wanted to make sure to give kind of a full explanation and shout out not just to the event but to Mission 500 in general and just all the great
Yeah.
things they do. I mean, one thing that it and I think you and I've talked about this previously is like, the industry is one of those things that people tend to stay in you get in the security industry, you stay in it because that not only does in general it serve a great mission of keeping people safe and secure, assets, homes, people, companies, the whole bit. Um, but the people in the industry are great and very philanthropic and can
Hmm.
care deeply about these communities that we operate in and places, or SIA does a lot of different philanthropic
Hmm.
things, with like what they do with FAST, with
Hmm.
internships
Yeah.
and supporting things like Mission 500. It's fantastic. So,
Yeah.
um, all right, what kind of closing thoughts? Um, you know, maybe kind of any things that we didn't cover, any kind of last like tips or tricks for marketers in 2026, or just kind of last ideas or comments before we wrap up.
I think networking is kind of the thread that
Mhm.
binds all the things that we talked about here, whether it's your personal brand or, what to do at ISC West. Building your network is the best thing you can do. I have people in this industry who, you know, I met randomly, like you said, sitting next to them on a bus or, one of those lunch tables where you grab lunch for the 5 minutes and you're like, can I sit here? And like, I met this girl who we ended up doing some marketing work together because we shared that table. Like, that is so critical. And it's really hard because, naturally I'm introverted. And I think if you saw me at a trade show, you wouldn't believe that because I'm everywhere and trying to talk to everybody. So I understand that for some people that can be really difficult. But pushing through that and getting to know people on a personal level and telling them about your goals and what you do and where you want to be is only going to serve you in the most positive ways. There's so many times where people have said my name, in a room, and that has led me to an incredible opportunity because
Mhm.
I know them. And, I've also become friends with a lot of people. I think it's okay to have personal relationships because I think those are really valuable as well. People that you can trust and bounce ideas off of, and again, will like champion you. I think that's really important.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Well, when we publish this, it'll be a couple weeks ahead of ISC West to give people plenty of time to both listen and apply what we've discussed, to look out for your helpful hints, because there's more that you post around wearing the right shoes and packing the right stuff. So
Yeah.
we didn't give you all the secrets here, so you got to follow Tristan to hear
Yeah.
a little bit more about making sure you're not wearing high heels
You don't
or
need them.
yeah, they don't
You
matter. They
don't,
don't trust me.
you don't need
So
them.
So more to come on all that, but thank you so much. It's been great to catch up.
Likewise.
Appreciate your time today. Looking forward to seeing you in Vegas, and let's go do great things.
Me too. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Bye.